What's up, guys? For today's guest, we've got none other than the multi-talented actor, writer, director, our good friend Denzel Whitaker, as well as writer-producer John Trefry joining us to discuss their new film 5150, starring Jovan Adepo. And just to make sure everyone's caught up, Denzel has done multiple TV shows starting with Nickelodeon's All That and the Purge TV series, to several films including Training Day with Denzel Washington, The Great Debaters with, once again, Denzel Washington, as well as a little film called Black Panther, and the recent film directed by RZA from Wu Tang Clan called Cutthroat City, available on Netflix. We also have CEO and executive producer of 4WT Media John Trefry joining us. They've created multiple music videos, commercials, TV spots, and films for companies such as Warner Brothers, Netflix, and the Discovery Channel. As always, show support by liking and subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell for new episodes. Let's go! All right, what's up, man? What's up, guys? How you doing, fellas?
Doing What's great. Going on?
Not much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hop on and catch up with me. Denzel Whitaker and John Trefry in the house. So I know you guys just finished 5150, and I want to touch on that, but I just wanted to catch up a little bit on anything in general, and then we can chat about 5150 as well. One question that I did have for Denzel, not for me, but people were messaging me about, was you coming up in the industry and working on Great Debaters with one of the best actors in the world, which was a similar name, Denzel Washington, and you ironically have the same name as both your co-stars, Denzel Washington and Forrest Whitaker. But what was that like watching Denzel work on set? That's what somebody was asking in the comments.
Sure. So that was, a very unique experience for myself. Again, Denzel was directing and acting in that.
Right.
So, as we talked about earlier, to actually watch him take on that role and responsibility during the process was amazing to me. And, he's obviously had way more experience within the game. He's had, a world-class crew behind him that was able to basically shepherd him when he wasn't behind the camera. But what I learned from that process, most importantly, number one, Denzel Washington, I give all credit as a mentor, really helped shepherd me behind the camera. He was the first one to really seen the curiosity within my mind, told me bring a notepad every day, got me my first director's viewfinder, got me my first camera, and really said, show up every day with a notepad. I'm gonna teach you what I know, come to the editing bay when you get the chance. So he really sort of opened my eye to the process of filmmaking. But one of the things that always stood out to me was watching just the two sides of his brain that needed to make the flip. So, Denzel is so much of an intense guy when he's acting, because he pours all his heart and soul into the character. So, a lot of times people are like, oh man, you got to speak with Denzel and do all that and that. I didn't really get to do that when I worked with him. He was in the zone. And I hear that a lot. And so it was beautiful for me in that opportunity, because he really was like a father figure behind the camera as a director. And that's who Denzel is, genuinely offset. But when he's on set as an actor, I remember the first day where he actually, was doing the scenes in front of us, and it was a whole different Denzel who showed up. Denzel when he got into character. And then I realized like what it took for those two different headspaces, because I know for me as an actor, if I have an intense scene or even a scene that is not of myself, I walk onto set as that character. To a varying degree, I'm still, very aware of what's going on, but right. You want to be locked in. So to watch that on Denzel was just, it was inspiring for me. And again, he sort of continuously sets the bar within my mind of, what that possibility would look like for me to be both an actor and director, or at least just how to always put my best foot forward within the craft. So invaluable experience, I would say.
Right. And it's ironic that he mentored you on Great Debaters, and then he went on to mentor Chadwick Boseman on Black Panther. Well, not on Black Panther, but he basically helped usher Chadwick Boseman into, the spotlight, or doing what he does best, by paying for his school and all that stuff. And then, ironically, you worked on Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman. So Denzel just kind of has his tentacles in his hands and everything.
Crazy enough, and I don't think a lot of people really know this unless you deep dive his interviews. Denzel never really wanted to be an actor.
Right. Right.
he, he's a sports coach. He loves sports.
Yep.
And in Mount Vernon, he was always coaching, the little leagues and whatnot, or his son's game, and he's heavily invested within the Boys and Girls Club of America. So like that is Denzel. He is kind of like the mentor to everyone. He's very fatherly in that approach. So I myself, again, I've just been blessed enough to have that come into my life. He's done it for Chadwick. He's done it for Amari Hardwick. He's done it for a plethora of other cats. Even his son, John David. It's not like he just gave him a direct lane. Obviously, that is his child, but at the same time, too, John David had to work for all of his.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So Denzel is that type of guy. He just loves to give back. He loves to see, the youth really excelling and rising to the occasion. So, my hat goes off to him, man. Just an incredible human being and an incredible artist, and very grateful to even have that experience.
Right. Yeah, he's an incredible person behind the scenes and on camera, but more behind the scenes. One of the main things with 5150 that I did want to touch on real quick is filming it during a pandemic. and do you have any stories going on with that? Either one of you have a story during filming, especially writing, directing, producing? You guys are doing the whole thing. 'Cause I know when we did a film one time, something always happens. There's always something that happens. Like it never goes smoothly. I had my makeup artist didn't show up for like 2 hours, so like a lot of my actors weren't in makeup for the first shots. One of my gaffers or whatever didn't show up, so you're short-handed and you just have to figure out how to do damage control. Did everything go smoothly, or did you guys have any hiccups?
Ooh, John, you want to answer this?
Yeah, sure. It's crazy, Nick. Honestly, just doing as you know, I mean, doing producing is hard enough. But for Denzel and I, we were asking people to come out during like the height of the pandemic in June of 2020 to film with us for 5150, and we were really grateful that we had done so much work in advance before the actual production days, because the added complexity, we never could have expected. And so I think just doing all that work on the front end and making sure, we had to have like a COVID safety plan. We had to have a COVID safety officer. We had to have mandatory testing for every single cast and crew member. We had to have PPE on set. And I'll tell you something a lot of people don't know, which is the one of the most nail-biting aspects of filming during the pandemic was we got SAG clearance from the Screen Actors Guild, which was really a lot of work. And we were one of the first projects to actually get that. But something a lot of people don't know is that with the City of Commerce, where our studio was, and we were filming the majority of the production, they were really like, we don't know if we're going to issue you guys a permit. And it was literally like 2 days before our start date that we got our permit to film from the City of Commerce.
Whoa, holy crap.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but I think testament to Denzel, the rest of the team, everybody was just very prepared, and we didn't have any incidents on set. I think like the most kind of eventful thing was Dee's mom bringing lunch throughout the day, but that was kind of the most action we had outside of just making our thing.
Did she bring you guys those smoothies that she's famous for?
Oh, no. She didn't bring smoothies. She brought like custom-made sushi and Chinese chicken. I think it was Chinese chicken salads at one point. There was like fresh cut fruit, everything. You know how moms get down.
She goes all out. She went all out. Yeah, she knows how to take care of people for sure.
I mean, just to back up what John was saying, like we really had an amazing world-class rock star crew. So no, we didn't have anybody, thank God, show up late or, our actors were on time. Everybody was just, a class act. And I think there's a testament to that we were all in the house. So everybody was really excited to work, to be able to bring their skill set back to something that they love, which is filmmaking. At the same time too, John, myself, the entire production team or producer team, we were all very thorough beforehand in choosing who our crew members were going to be, who the different people we wanted to work with. So, by that vetting process that we took early on, we knew that we could at least trust them safety wise. So by the time we got on set, everything, it was just kind of like Lego pieces falling into place. We really had a very smooth shoot. No hiccups, surprisingly, which was wonderful.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
So, that's good then. I expected the worst, but I mean, that scary part from what John was saying, it sounds like just the permits alone, the red tape that you got to jump through, that sounds like the worst part of it. But luckily you guys were able to come through with it.
Yeah, and I think, we're all still figuring out how to do production in a COVID world. We were one of the first that we know of. Certainly for like all of our cast and crew, we were the first. And we couldn't have expected how I would say kind of like high the frequency was, if that makes sense, and just how to Denzel's point, everybody was like really excited to come back to work. But then I think this project in particular, people just really felt in their hearts, and it was something that people were really like willing to just go 150% for. And the outcome and the result, like we couldn't be more happy with.
Right. Yeah, it came out really well. You guys did a fantastic job, and I want to get into more detail about that because it just looks so good, and you would never know that there was a pandemic going on with the finished product. So hats off to you guys for pulling it off. For Denzel, real quick, what was it like being back in the director's seat, man? Because I know you've done it before, so how did it feel getting back in there?
This time around was very special. And I'd say that because, just to give a little bit of window and context to the audience out there, 5150, the first draft that I had written personally was back in 2016. And that was a much longer, 30-page draft where I was just sort of fleshing out characters and concepts. And so John and I worked together on a project called Will the Machine. Yeah. That's where we met. John was producing that project, and his production company, 4WT Media, was putting it together. So we end up, just really having similar interests, really bonding very quickly. Same sentiment. So John and I, I put it on his desk, and he was really excited about the idea and really, wanted to champion it. So he got behind 5150, and we started working together in a co-writing, sort of aspect, just massaging it, tweaking it, trimming everything that needed to be done. So to circle back to your question, starting something in 2016, being able to have the privilege and the opportunity and the blessing to do it in 2020, knowing that I had spent the years prior doing a lot of music videos, small time ads, different things like that. This was me jumping back into the narrative space. I went up, produced narrative projects for other friends of mine. But when I was showcasing my reel, they were like, oh, well, are you a music video director? Or do you do ads? And that wasn't really what I wanted on my name because, unfortunately within this business, when you get, really nice at something, they like to immediately put you in a box. And that's one of the themes that we even talk about in 5150 is just like, especially as an artist of color, per se, as a minority, you get put in those boxes a lot quicker. You're not allowed to expand to different disciplines. So 5150, I would like to say, is like a reemergence of myself, especially as a director. And in many ways, it was almost like my first time directing again, I would like to say, because, now when we showcase 5150, people are like, oh my God, we never knew. And it was like, no, You didn't see the years beforehand, but unfortunately, a lot of times within different people's artistries, they never see the years beforehand. They only see the tip of the iceberg, not the actual iceberg beneath it.
Right. It's just like
Yeah.
starting a business. It's just like creating a business. They never
So
see
it
the
was,
back work and then all the legwork you put into getting to where you're at.
no, and again, I'm just very grateful for
Mm.
the opportunity to be able to do this,
Right.
and I think just to answer like another short question that people have been asking me, they're always like, well, why didn't you act in 5150? Why didn't you take on the role of Celeb?
Direct
And
and
for
act?
yeah, direct and act. And for me, I wanted the project. I wanted to give the grace and the attention and all of the everything that the project deserved. I wanted, to live throughout the project, not myself to be self-serving and to step on, both sides of the camera. So I didn't want the project to suffer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was the thing. Like this is something for myself as a director. This is something for John and I, both as writers. This is something for both of us, as filmmakers who can make, great narrative content. So, we wanted to put those intentions forward and let the project speak for itself.
Right. And when you guys worked on Will the Machine too, which Will the Machine came out really well as well. But it felt good for you to get back to that director's chair because the other one that you directed before, what was it called? The other film, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Right before that, I did Jump and I did Pretty Girl, which was it was like a short film, like a music video type short film. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it was one of those.
before that, Criminal, Operation CTF.
It might have been Criminal. Yeah. It might have been Criminal. I think is what I was thinking about. But that's good that it's not that it can't be done. It's not like you can't direct and act, but it's good I appreciate that you actually wanted to focus the story and hone in on one thing instead of doing two things.
I mean, I get it. Look, I get it, and there are people who could definitely do it, and all credit to them, maybe
Right.
down the line, maybe somewhere in my pathway. But, I just feel like I want to treat the utmost respect to the disciplines, and the mastery of it as other people would. If David Fincher is behind the camera and, he's doing what he does best, he puts the actors in front of the camera to do what they do best. You know what I mean? And it's a time management thing. It's an artistry thing. You just want to have the ultimate respect for the craft. And for me personally, again, it was something that I wanted to be disciplined about because I knew how the world would now see me in a different light versus how they were seeing me beforehand.
Right. It's funny that you brought up David Fincher. That's my favorite director as far as his style goes. He's on my list. He's number one on my list, and then there's multiple others. But Steve McQueen's one of my other favorites as well. His long shots and wide shots are phenomenal. Speaking of that, I did want to touch on this later, so might as well talk about it now. But the look and style of the film 5150 that you guys did, it just looks great. Like I said, it's so polished and so well done. You would never know it was done during a pandemic. And then a lot of that is credit to you because you're the director. But who was your DP on that as well? Because you guys meshed very well, and your shots are just so clean and so good looking. Was it the cinematographer with Christina Dunlap?
Yeah, Christina Dunlap. Exactly. Yeah.
She did such a good job.
Oh my God. I mean, listen again. I would say this much, brother. Any credit that I take as a director, I also have to give to my team respectfully, because this is a collaborative effort, and I think it's sometimes you get certain ideas in your head, and then certain ideas that your teammate might have, and a lot of people say like, oh, as a director, you're kind of in charge. Well, no, not necessarily. It's more so just being disciplined and also being a diplomat to the people that you entrust, so we could creatively put our ideas together. And no more than that, maybe I'm just a vessel or a conduit, just receiving the ideas and putting them together. Mm-hmm. So like, I'd say all that to say, like, our DP, Christina Dunlap, incredible. She just has such a beautiful vision. As soon as we interviewed her, I seen her materials, her reel and whatnot. I just knew that she would be somebody who, we could get behind, and who was going to really bring this to the forefront. Um, for me and John personally, we wanted to make sure, somebody who knew how to light black skin, who knew to expose for black skin correctly. And that was the thing. Like, Christina comes from the music video world as well as narrative. So she's worked with the likes of Lizzo, and a couple other notable figures who, again, are prominent black entertainers. And so once I seen that within her resume, I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. She had like a whole layout that she brought to the table. Our production designer, Francesca Palumbo, she was incredible with designing the space. I mean, like I say, within the final hour, it was a decision to make the room gray instead of white, like a traditional facility, just so we could get the look and feel that we wanted. And then, our partners over at Canon, they end up sponsoring us with the Canon C500 Mark II. Is that correct, John?
That's right. With the Sumi Ray lenses.
With the Sumi Ray lenses. So again, our team just really helped to dial in that look, dial it in what was, the vision that I myself or John and us collectively had together. So again, I can't take all credit for that. I would be a fool to take all credit for that. But, outside of that, there was definitely, shot selections that I wanted to bring to the table, different inspirations that I have. But it's a team thing, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it always is. Oh, go ahead, John.
And I just wanted to also piggyback on that, Nick, and say that Francesca Palumbo, our production designer, really, for folks out there who may have seen 5150 or are interested in it, hats off to her, because what she did with the resources that she had at her disposal, I mean, are just incredible. That whole clinical space that you see, that the majority of the film takes place in, was a standing set. It was actually built, purpose built, and actually created from a 3D rendering and design. And so for us, and especially for Denzel, to have that kind of like tool, sort of like tools to create for something at this scale, really credit goes to Frankie and her team, because when we, met with her, and we met with other production designers as well, we had a very ambitious idea of what we wanted this to be, and very challenging to pull that off, to even build a set for a short film, where your budget is always a constraint. I've never actually done that. I've always used practical locations for short films, and so to be able to do that for this project was just like, I think next level for all of us. And again, like, really got to give flowers to Frankie and her team for helping us achieve that.
Okay. So, yeah, because that way you're not using an actual practical location where you can move a wall if you need to move a wall, and slide the camera through and adjust little things, and it's all tweaked to your liking. So that's probably why it came out so well, on top of that. But yeah, the production design, the cinematographer, even down to the gaffers, like the sound department, everybody did such a great job with you guys at the helm. Even to, post-production, your editors and the sound department there, and the colorists, everybody did such an amazing job, because it just came out so polished.
Yeah, and I do want to just quickly shine a light on some of those folks. David Marks was our editor. Keep an eye out for his forthcoming film, The Night House, which was a big acquisition coming out of Sundance. And David is somebody who's extremely accomplished. He cut the last black band in San Francisco. So for him to come on and do 5150 was a dream for us. But again, to Denzel's point, we just set the bar really, really high for every single person, every single role. And then in terms of post sound, our friends over at Formosa Group, Trevor Gates, supervising sound editor, Emmy winner for his work with Donald Glover and Hiro Murai on Atlanta. Also worked on a little movie called Get Out with Jordan Peele. And Trevor's, a friend. I've known him for a number of years, but he really wanted to collaborate with Denzel, myself, and the team because he saw the vision. He believed in us. It's not like we had a ton of money, for any of these folks, but that's, I think, a testament to the passion, Denzel has as director, and then for us as a team, and then similarly with color, we worked with Company 3. Jill Bogdanovitz was our colorist. She did Joker. You couldn't ask for better partners on the post side of things. And I think it just, for us, it was also a big education. We had done color with Company 3 previously with Will the Machine, but we had worked with their theatrical department, and then we worked with their TV and their episodic department. Totally different workflows, and just, for us as creators, being able to learn about, the post end, hey, here's how you deliver for television. We're going to treat this short film like an episode of TV. And so it was really technical, very, in the weeds for us, but we learned a huge amount, and a lot of gratitude and credit to Company 3, Formosa Group, David Marks, also Chicken Bone, FX. They were our visual effects partners. You may have seen their work in Queen's Gambit on Netflix. Again, their team really just got behind us, got behind the vision. Not because we had a huge budget, but because we were really, really passionate, and so the post-production team was stacked.
Look at John, the producer over here. He's got the list. He just has it all in his head. That's how good he is. He knows everybody by heart. Wow, it's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, there we go. So it's better now. I think we need to reconnect, something reset.
We'll refresh.
Yeah, a little refresh right?
Yeah.
Man, well, like I was saying, John is such an awesome producer. He just knows all that stuff off the top of his head.
Thank you.
But to circle back to what me and Denzel talked about too, as far as nobody sees the behind the scenes stuff and the stuff that you do beforehand. It's just like building a business. Then nobody sees all that hard work you put in. They only see the finished product, which that kind of reminds me also of John and how he started 4WT Media, because you bootstrapped that from the ground up, right? And you started your own business and created that. Mm-hmm. How was that process? Because we created a business as well. I've created 2 businesses, 2 brick and mortars now, and nobody knows, how I took a whole year, literally a whole year, to create and plan everything out from the blueprints. We did a build out from gravel, poured concrete. I mean, I measured the furniture, so I knew exactly where it would fit, and everything fits perfectly. The brand, the website, like everything is on there. And I did that for about a whole year before we actually committed and launched the actual brick and mortar. So how was 4WT for you? Because I know we're more of a service industry, and 4WT obviously is more of a media production company. But how was it for you starting that company?
Yeah, it's interesting, Nick, and I apologize. I got low bit rate here. I'm actually dialing in from remote. I'm in Ohio visiting family.
Are you in a dungeon?
I am. Yeah.
Just wink twice if we need to come rescue you.
Does Kanye have you hostage?
I'm literally chained to the radiator over here. So I have a hats off.
Where's Kanye's little plantation? Where's his place at? It's in
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Yeah.
Are you sure you're not in Wyoming, John? Has Kanye got you in his basement?
Yeah. Hey, man. They they have a big reach. So, but in terms of the business, question, Nick. I started 4WT in 2012, fully bootstrapped, no outside investors, and really, it's been an incredible education for me. What it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be an employer, to have staff, and full-time employees who count on you for their livelihoods, and so. The experience of running that business and largely doing commercial and branded content for the majority of that time has really just sharpened my sword. It's given me a huge amount of experience dealing, directly with brands and executives as well as talent. And that, I think, just makes me a better filmmaker and a better producer. And what's been really exciting over this last year is that, with the slowdown in, production and our industry overall, I really took it as a chance to pivot for WT Media, my business, and focus really primarily on original content. And the reason for that, Nick, is just because, as a storyteller, that's where my passion lies. And I've been working with, clients like Netflix and Google over the past 9 years to, help them sell product and, connect with customers and promote their shows and movies and whatnot. But I, am a storyteller as well. And that's what, Denzel and I share. And that's what we are really passionate about. So all the things that I've learned over the course of, building my business and, hearing you talk about building out your brick and mortar definitely resonates with me. I've had 5 commercial real estate spaces in Los Angeles over the course of my business, and have done build outs, tenant improvements, and it's a lot of work. And all of that has led me to this moment where Denzel and I have this new thing, which is almost a business unto itself. Having a property like 5150 is very much, we went out, we raised money from investors. We had to interview and hire team members and employees like Christina, like Frankie, and some of the other folks we mentioned. And all of those skills that I've been honing for other people's, brands and sell other people's products. Now I'm just like, I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be more grateful that I'm just able to unleash that full force, arm in arm with my brother, D here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it shows for sure, because you guys had done a fantastic job with it. Speaking of Netflix and working with other companies, heard through the grapevine, maybe word on the street, is that you guys possibly make this into like an episodic thing, which I think would be a phenomenal route, because binge watching is what people love to do. And I could see 5150 being like a longer feature, and then you guys just break it down into episodes, 6-7 episodes. What are you guys thinking about doing in the future with that?
So, 5150, kind of exactly how you said. We always knew from the jump that this story could expand. Even as we were dialing in the short film and figuring out exactly how we wanted to tell celeb stories, there's just so much nuance and so much source material here that just exists within the zeitgeist of pop culture and celebrity fandom. And so, we felt it would be a disservice just to do, an hour and a half, 2-hour film. We felt that wasn't enough to really adequately kind of tells celeb's arc in terms of, where he started, even prior to him being this famous celebrity. What was his humble roots? Where do we sort of meet him kind of in the pilot, where he's full narcissism, full celebrity that he commands, and then what is that journey afterwards? So John and myself and the team, we envision 5150 to live on as a television series, an 8-episode, hour-long drama, at least for the first season is what we have envisioned, where we could really, again, trace back to what made celeb. For the people who really love him, for his fans, where is the charisma and the charm that we're sort of missing a little bit in the pilot, who was this humble cat who moved out to LA from Ohio? What was his life like beforehand? What were the trials and tribulations that he suffered in order to, get to the level of the narcissism and get to the level of the fame that we meet him at, and get to the level of the conflict that he's now suffering externally and internally. There's different things that we want to put into place, and we want to really explore his mental health. We really challenge celebs' mental health, but then also put a magnifying glass on Black mental health and just mental health in general, especially from celebrities, especially from, the masses, and then possibly mirror that with somebody else who's suffering and sort of compare and contrast and see that this isn't just like a celebrity thing. This isn't just like, the 1%er type thing. This is something that everybody's going through. And we really just need to raise that conversation. And that's kind of where we're at now. We're developing it, and I'll let John sort of speak a little bit to some of the extra bits.
Yeah, well, we were really excited, Nick, to be featured with 5150 at the Tribeca Creators Market this year. It was actually a really cool experience. Denzel and I, first travel in over a year being in New York. But amazing experience to have the project, get in front of executives and producers, managers, and we heard great feedback. Really good, initial reaction from the short. But then also, to Denzel's point, we have written a pilot episode for the series. And how we proceed from here. We're just really, really excited about because not a lot of people do this short to series pathway that we're doing, and it actually goes back to Will the Machine. It goes back to other short films that I've done, like How to Be Alone, Stucco, and Souls of Totality. All of which, have really found audiences worldwide, but they're short films. And so our idea with 5150 was, hey, we're passionate about making stuff. We obviously see this as a bigger story, like Dee said, but we are, limited in our, in our body of work, shall we say. Denzel is more known as an actor. I'm more known as a producer, but more on the branded side. And so for us, we needed to really showcase that as creators, and especially as writers, that we had the chops to really do this thing as a series. And so that's how we decided to do the short film. We went through Kickstarter. We, had an incredible run and campaign with folks from all over the world backing this project, and we then have partnered with an amazing distribution company called Argo, where you can see 5150 right now, and we're also releasing with Short of the Week and Director's Notes and some others as well. And the idea being that we want audiences everywhere to be able to experience this world, these characters, especially Celeb, our protagonist. And we want that to help, really push the rock up the hill, so to speak, of how we get to the next step and bring this actually to a larger canvas, with the 8-episode series, as Denzel mentioned. So we really think that by doing the short film, and not just as like a, proof of concept that only like the studios or the networks would see, but that we would actually release, to fans and to audiences. And we think by doing that, people are going to get excited. They're going to want to, support us as we bring this, to life, and, just build that kind of buzz, build that interest. So that's where we are currently. And, so far the reaction and the reception publicly with the release on Argo has been incredible. And, we've just been hearing from folks all over the world that they're really excited about this work.
Awesome. Yeah, it was interesting that you brought up the film festival, Tribeca. I saw that you guys went down there, and it was awesome that it was at the Tribeca Film Festival, because me and Denzel, when we did You Shoot Video, You Shoot Videos, it won the award for Tribeca, and we were all excited, and womp womp, everybody was on house arrest, so we couldn't go.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm glad you
Couldn't
guys at least got to
celebrate.
go. Huh?
We couldn't celebrate like we wanted to.
No, we couldn't. No. I mean,
Yeah.
we celebrated at home, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
You have to be in New York for that, for Tribeca.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
But yeah, it's interesting with 5150 that you touched on that, Denzel, with the mental health awareness that it raises, especially with Celeb, played by Jovan Adepo, and that it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. You know, you don't have to be a celebrity to have mental health issues, especially in the Black community. So it's cool that it raises awareness to that. It's funny that you guys wrote this and worked on it since 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2016. You know, a long time. I could do the math, but 2016, and it's releasing now, which the timing couldn't have been more perfect, because I remember a couple months ago or last year, the whole Kim and Kanye thing was going on, and then it's the headline was Kanye said that Kim tried to 5150 him, and I was like, oh crap, I'd like heard. That's the first person I messaged was Denz. I was like, dude, 5150. They're talking, because I honestly had no idea what 5150 even was until Denzel spoke about it and told me that he was writing it, and he explained what 5150 meant.
You know what, Nick? And again, you know, obviously there have been some drawn coincidences and parallels to, say, for so Kanye, Kim, that we've received. And, you know, Kanye is only just a small sliver of this. You know, we really look to celebrities like Whitney Houston. We look to celebrities
Right.
like Spears and, you know, Colin Kaepernick, you know, across the gambit, Tom Cruise. But in particular, what I could say to that is, like, there's a divinity to this project. You know, it's like just receiving an idea and just being very passionate about it, knowing that this is a subject that needs to be talked about. And so the timing to yourself, just like everybody else says, it's like, wow, what a coincidence. You know, John and I have been sitting back watching this whole thing play out. Like, you know, we're thankful, more than thankful, for the time and the pathway and how it's all aligning. But, you know, it's not like we have a crystal ball in our back room and we're just plotting it out.
Right,
No.
of course.
No, we just, you know, these were subjects that we were extremely passionate about, and we knew it was time to have the conversation. So, you know, as we were filming, when we were in production during the height of the BLM movement, you know, and there were some topics that Celeb is talking about in the beginning about, you know, the Black community being stifled, you know, by oppressive powers of the, you know, American traditional system. It was like, we couldn't have planned that. You know, we couldn't have planned how this mirrors Kim and Kanye's relationship or whatnot. But it's interesting that we're having the conversation now, and it means that we need to start having the conversation. If we're also seeing how it matches up within the news and pop culture, that means it's time for us to actually explore and crack these subjects open. So again, there's this divinity that John or I or nobody could have planned.
Right.
You know, we're no more than vessels receiving from God. And it's like, okay, well, let's go to work.
Right. And you're not hoping that happens either. You're not like, yes, there's a new headline for 5150, or, you know, Kanye's getting locked up. You're not hoping for any of that.
Now,
It just
we're not
happens
out
to
here.
be.
Yeah, we're not chasing trends. That's not the
Right.
point. That's not why we do what we love.
Right.
We really are passionate about this story. You
Right.
know what I mean? And you know, sometimes you hit, sometimes you might cut a record, and then that record is perfect just because, you know, people are wearing the flashy red jackets.
Because
You know
it's
what
the
I'm
cool summer.
Yeah, exactly. It's a deep reference, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you
Right.
can't plan things for that. Sometimes it's your time, and when it's your time, you know, you get out of the way and you don't hinder your own process. Don't let your ego mess up the timing of what's supposed to happen. You know?
I want to just quickly build on, you know, this idea of like art imitating life, life imitating art. And, you know, as Denzel points out, you know, we certainly, you know, had started this long before what happened last year with George Floyd and a lot of awareness around BLM. And then similarly, I would also just, draw some distinctions. We do, have been inspired by Kanye West, as an inspiration for the protagonist. However, we're very much interested in this story being fictional, and this is not about Kanye West. It's not meant to be a mirror of his in any way. We're inspired by the way that cancel culture is obsessed with seeing people be torn down, and how we put these pressures on public figures, and especially Black celebrities in particular, that then have extremely detrimental effects on people's mental health and their own well-being. And so our character is very much, our protagonist Celeb is very much an anti-hero. We draw inspiration from characters like Walter White or Tony Soprano, who are flawed, and we as audiences are still drawn toward them, and they're magnetic because they're charismatic, but ultimately they're not necessarily good people. And so that we thought that was very interesting for Celeb. We didn't want it to just be a black and white thing, no pun intended, of like how people would see this character, and how audiences would either align with him and say he's a victim, he's being oppressed by the studio, he's being oppressed by media, cancel culture, versus recognizing his own narcissism, his own deep flawed demons that then he is unleashing on the people around him, and the public as well. We actually, Nick, were interested to explore both of those things like at the same time. So Celeb, on the one hand, is this flawed character. He is a narcissist. He's somebody who's totally self-important, and then simultaneously he's also a victim, and he's also being oppressed by this same systemic frameworks that have exist not just for black celebrities, but black people for hundreds of years. And so both of those things can be true at the same time, and that's also again why we think that this is a series, because there's so much to unpack there. And we can't wait for audiences to see where we go, how deep we go with Celeb, and some of the things like Denzel was hinting at. We don't want to give too much away, but what are the things that happen early on in this character's life that then shape him to be this huge global celebrity, but also somebody who is very toxic at the same time. So that's the exploration that we're doing. And we want audiences to be challenged, and not just be like like, oh, he is one way or another. No, it's very nuanced. It's shades of gray rather than real black and white.
Right.
And real quick, speaking to that, something that we've realized even within our test screenings, and now the screenings of the short film, is like, depending on the audience member and depending on each audience's particular background, when you ask the question, is Celeb crazy, is he sort of losing it a little bit mentally, is he unstable, or is there validity to his claims, it's mixed answers. And that's kind of the beautiful shades of gray that John and I are talking about, is like, there could be truth to some of the things that he expels about feeling like a black man and feeling like the plight of being a black man in America and feeling oppressed. And at the same time too, he could be extremely radical, and he could be, spewing certain remarks that put him in a negative light, or maybe he is just losing his train of thought. And then there's somewhere in the middle of that where maybe as an exceptional artist, I was listening to a podcast the other day, notable podcaster out there, and he was just basically talking about how some artists, their brains are sometimes working at a higher frequency. And sometimes people mistake that for autism or, sometimes being on the spectrum. Not to say they are, you know what I mean? This is no misconception of that, but it's like, in a certain point in time, like we're still trying to understand humanity and we're still trying to understand, people as a whole. We don't fully know who we are. So then, where does celeb necessarily fall within this? Like, what is his mental instability? What are the things that are sort of triggering him traumatically from the past? Is there validity to some of his claims? Like, that's the nuance that John and I are constantly seeking.
It's almost like the Floyd Mayweather syndrome kind of thing. Like, as much as people talk trash about Floyd Mayweather, they hate Floyd Mayweather and what he projects because he's playing this villain character, It doesn't matter how much you dislike somebody's personality or what they're projecting, you don't really know them. So like to spew all this stuff on them and treat them a certain way just because you don't like somebody, it doesn't make them any less of a great boxer, And same with celeb, it doesn't make him any more of or any less of an artist. But to treat somebody that way just because that's what they project, or that's if you don't like them, it's just it's the cancel culture's gotten worse too.
It's gotten phenomenal.
A celebrity that we often talk about is LeBron, and celeb is
I was gonna bring that up.
Celeb is like the anti-LeBron. He's like, if LeBron was like the dark side and he was like a Sith Lord, like that's kind of like how celeb maybe you could imagine him, because we as part of the nuance that that we've mentioned, part of that as well is exploring what is the role of a celebrity now, and especially what is the role of a Black celebrity now, because this idea of Colin Kaepernick or LeBron, notable Black athletes who are speaking out about some of the systemic inequity that Black people face. What does that mean? What does that mean for all Black celebrities, or all celebrities for that matter? What is your role in terms of social issues, and not just like shut up and dribble or shut up and act?
Yeah.
But to actually have a voice or a seat at the table, as it pertains to, politics or, what's going on more kind of broadly in our society. So that's part of what we're looking at as well. That's part of what's important about this story, is that it's turning the lens on us, as viewers, as consumers and audiences ourselves, and, asking, hey, what actually are your expectations that you project onto a celebrity? And, similarly, what are the sort of things that celebrities maybe, should just know that are part of the bag now? Like if you are, a Black celebrity, like you can't not have an opinion about certain things, like voter suppression, for example. Like, no, if you have a platform, you're somebody who has an audience, like there's certain things that, your audience will expect you to have a position on and expect you to actually say something meaningful about.
That it's funny that you brought up LeBron, because I was literally going to touch on that too. I don't know if you guys saw the little clip about I think he was at the Usher concert or something, and he's like walking towards backstage, and some fan like jumps in front of him in his path, and he just kind of stiff arms him. It's just a straight stiff arm, and kind of shoves the guy back, and the security, is like building a wall and blocking the guy. And I saw the headline. First of all, obviously the headline, if that's all you read, shame on you. And so I go into it, and I watched the clip, and I'm like, that's it? That's what happened? Why are we talking about this? And then the first comment that I saw, because I don't know why, I went down in the comments just to see what other people's opinions were. And the first one I saw was, that's assault right there. I said, bruv, you've never been punched in the face.
Oh,
Like, you've never been punched in the face. If you think that's assault, and then the second comment was obviously, dude's jumping in his path and impeding his space, like you're putting yourself in a position. And that's the way I viewed it. I saw it. I'm like, he's just getting dude out of his way when he's already on a path. You don't just jump in somebody's way and then how's the saying go? My fist ends at your nose or whatever. Like your reach, like you can't if you go in somebody's bubble, basically. I forget how the saying is. I'm butchering the saying, but yeah, my hand or my fist ends at your nose or whatever. So basically, as long as I don't hit you, like I'm not. So this dude's like impeding LeBron's space, and LeBron just stiff arms him. I found nothing wrong with it. I thought it was hilarious.
No, it's so interesting that you bring that up because we explore this idea of this sort of TMZ soundbite social media culture in 5150 because for that example that you referenced, Nick, it's literally I think maybe like 5 seconds or something like that you see. You also don't see what happened before that. And you don't necessarily know what the context is. Like, we do know that LeBron was with his family,
right? And
he was in a public space, and it's like, hey, was this guy like literally like pressing up on LeBron's loved ones, and like, did he provoke something? We don't know that. But I think to your point, it's all about clickbait. It's all about, being like, got you, LeBron.
Got him.
We thought you were one of the good guys. Yeah. And it's like, no, I mean, like, you just look at LeBron, you look at his, his track record, his activism, what he stands for. And it's like, look, we're all human, we're all fallible. But I viewed that clip and I was just like, this is part of the sort of the, we're going so far into wanting to catch somebody and like cancel them, and we're obsessed with like seeing people's downfall that it's like this is what people are talking about, like this is what they're making a huge deal about, this like literally 5-second clip of LeBron at an Usher concert where he's like this, just somebody, it's like that's too much. It's
overreacting at its finest.
Oh yeah, but isn't that the internet?
Right, that is the internet, because you can sit behind a screen. Yeah, just troll people.
Exactly.
Yeah. It reminds me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, and that's part of like the weird sort of dynamic that we have as fans, right, with the public figures. Is there's a degree of anonymity of like you as just like a Twitter handle or whatever, but it's like, LeBron as like a human being, he's very public. He is, or Kanye West for that matter, and their whole personal lives, are on display in a way that, the normal person just has no conception of. And, this is where we drew from, Denzel's personal experience and, what he's gone through, living in front of the camera for over 2 decades. But that, that kind of, sort of tension, if you will, between what it means to be a public figure and what it means to be a fan is very interesting.
And also there's a strange dynamic from a fan perspective where like, I'm so used to watching you all the time. I'm so used to reading about you. I know everything about you because your life is now open to the public. And so it's like, I know you. So imagine it's like a best friend that you haven't seen for years. You see him walking down the street, you get so excited. Meanwhile, public figure on the other side of this has no clue who you are.
Right.
And sometimes that I think escapes, the fan perspective. And then on the public figure perspective, it's like every space you go to now, you got eyes on you. As John had said, coming from personal experience, not myself and my personal celebrity, but different friends that I've had or been involved with. It was like if we were going to go to the grocery store just to buy food or enjoy our afternoon because, maybe we wanted to go bowling or go karting or whatever, you had to damn near shut down the place Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to enjoy it, you know. And that's just to say, like, it's not standing in the lines or not wanting to be around people. No, I love being around people. It's that we wouldn't be able to enjoy it because there would be not only whatever immediate horde there, but there would be also people being called to the place. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just a very weird thing about celebrity culture in general and how we as people, you know, idolize celebrities as these figures that live above. It's extremely strange, but I don't think there's enough consideration put in on both sides, from the fan side and the public figure side. And that's the thing, like, there needs to be awareness on both sides. So when you look at a situation, you know, like LeBron, or that we've seen similar, it's kind of like all of this is an overreaction. You never know if that fan was trying to purposely incite a reaction out of LeBron. You know, maybe they're not even a fan. Maybe they're meant to do. Don't know the motive.
Yeah.
And in a quick exchange like that, you know, 10, 20 seconds, look, you could be nobody and you don't know somebody's motives at the grocery store. Now you're somebody, a public figure who we have years upon years of all of this collected data of what you do on a daily basis. Yeah, it'd be real easy to set up somebody like that if they wanted to.
Right.
So there's, you know, there's this awareness that needs to be there on select parts. There's this understanding. There's this, like, hey, we're both humans. Can't we just interact as humans?
Right.
You know, but sometimes that moment escapes us, especially in quick interactions like that.
Right. It's not reciprocated both ways. Just because you see somebody on TV or YouTube or whatever it might be, you don't, just because you feel like you know them, it's not the same way for them when you see them in public. Like LeBron, he doesn't know you. You can't jump in his face like that and expect him to take a picture with you. And yeah, it's for safety reasons for sure, especially nowadays, knives and guns everywhere. It's like you don't know what his motive was. You never know. Yeah, especially the what was her name? Ariana Grande, like that concert. That's like, that reminds me of that situation with in England with Ariana Grande concert with the bombs that went off. Like, that was a huge concert going on with a lot of people. You don't know who's in that crowd. And LeBron's at an Usher concert and he's walking through the crowd. Is he a target? Is this, you know, what is the situation? So I don't blame him at all for stiff arming that dude. That dude deserved it.
You know, something that's important to us, Nick, as storytellers is we want this project and the work that we do to have meaning. And I think the meaning that we would look for with, you know, audiences who see this work would be the humanity, you know, that Denzel just mentioned. That, you know, beyond the sort of status of like social media, of like who has most followers, or, you know, whether you're a fan or a public figure, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? And, you know, we're facing so much collectively, and, you know, we hope that this project and this story, you know, entertains people and engages them, but also maybe, you know, shifts their perspective a little bit and maybe opens their heart a little bit more to like somebody that maybe like looks different than them. Denzel and myself, obviously we come from different experiences, different walks of life. You know, but we came together because we have a love of storytelling, and that we, you know, believe in the power of story to, you know, bring people together. And so, you know, ultimately that's important. You know, it's important to us that we want this to have, you know, not just be something that people watch and like, you know, enjoy their candy and popcorn with, but, you know, that it has maybe some deeper significance, stays with you. And if you watch this and you have a conversation, you know, with your friends or family, and maybe you consider, you know, that other perspective, that you know, whether it's a celebrity or not, doesn't matter. The point is, if that's, you know, part of what you experience and you take something away, then we feel like we've done our job as storytellers.
Right. And if they become more empathetic, or have more empathy.
Yes.
For people in that situation, yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to hop on and catch up with me and chat about 5150. Again, we got Denzel Whitaker and John Trefry in the house. All the social media stuff will be linked down below on the video. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it is Blackmouth on Instagram, also blackmouth.com for Denzel, and then John Trefry on Instagram and other social media as well. And don't forget John Trefry's 4wtmedia.com is the website for his marketing and production company. And again, 5150 is the film, and that is on Argo. So go check that out on the app, or if you're on a computer, you can watch it on the computer as well. So again, thank you fellas for hopping on and catching up with me. I appreciate you. I loved working on the film with you guys. You guys did a phenomenal job. It came out so well. And look forward to the future and what happens with it next, guys. Keep me posted, yeah?
Thanks so much, Nick.
Thank you.
Cheers, fellas. Thank you.
Cheers.